Tutorial, we're going to learn how to draw Kalmar Wingfeather Wolf Edition, as suggested to me by Blue Fox 1991. Before we get started, you're going to need to grab a couple things. The first thing you're going to need is a piece of paper. The next thing you'll need is a pencil. I have this really old 2H that I like to use for most of my drawings. You'll also need an eraser, so I have a big eraser for the bigger things that I'll need to erase, and then I use this, which is like a pencil eraser by Faber-Castell. I really like it. I highly recommend this for your art. And finally, I use this smudging tool to blend in shading. I also want to grab some blue pencils to color in the eyes. This is just an option, but instead of coloring in the whole picture, sometimes I just like to do the eyes because I think they stand out. I looked up Kalmar Wingfeather on the internet as a wolf, and they do not have a lot of options. I've done him as a wolf before, including this one and that one, but I'm thinking about maybe trying to do something different, so I might look on the Angel Studios website and search through one of the episodes for a really good frame. So in the end, I decided to go with the frame I used for the semi-Kalmar photo I showed you before, and I snip and sketched or screenshotted it on my computer so I could make it larger and easier to draw. I always start my drawings out by drawing a box and then having lines across the face to help with the proportions. It's helpful to know how much room there is between the eyes and the nose, the eyes and the edge of the face, and so on. The lines that you draw to measure these proportions are what give insight into how all the features put the picture together. I'm constantly looking at the reference to measure out these proportions and find out how much room is between each facial feature. Finally, after finishing my visual measurements and marking where each facial feature will go, I like to start on the face shape. I like to start with the sides or the chin. When I start the face shape, I look at the reference to see where the edge of the face is in comparison to the eye, that way it's not distorted. The first part I begin is about level with the middle of the eye, and then runs to the top of the head. The bottom half is a bit more staggered, matching with the middle of Cal's nose and below his mouth. I don't think I did the top of his head quite right. I think I made it a bit too elongated, so if you're drawing, you might notice that there's a difference. After the face shape is finished, or mostly finished, I go ahead to the facial features. The eyes are my favorite part, so I started with that. I start the eyes with circles and then try my best to copy the eye shape in the reference. I've heard that it's best to start with the shapes like squares and circles and triangles, and I actually think it works really, really well. After drawing the raw shapes, I edit them to match the reference. If you change up where the eyebrows pull, if they're pulling like up or down, it will change the expression. So if you think Cal looks too angry, maybe try finding a picture of someone smiling and match his eyebrows to that picture. I think it's similar with like the mouth shape and stuff. If I'm satisfied with my facial features, I move on to my final stage, shading. If you're not satisfied with it, don't hesitate to get creative. Play with the shapes of the eyes, mouth, nose, eyebrows, even the ears. It doesn't have to look just like your reference. Shading isn't too difficult. I usually just do the sides of the face and around the eyes, but Cal being a wolf makes it much more detailed, so I just went ahead and shaded the parts that were dark gray and around the left edge of his face. I also like to darken up the eyes to make them stand out. One thing I want to point out about the side of Cal's face are these two little dashes that look like freckles. And if you look at a real picture of Cal, like human Cal, he has freckles on the side of his face. And I just think that's cool what they did with the art there. And finally, the very last part I do that I think is so much fun is coloring the eyes blue. You could also do them yellow, like for the very first stages of Cal being a wolf, or not so first stages if you've read all 4 of the books. But I do blue just because I think it's kind of nice and cheery. And I finally finished him, Kalmar Wingfeather, the Wolf King. I hope this helped, Blue Fox, and anyone who has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments. I think my main advice would be don't rush, measure your proportions, start with normal shapes, and be creative with your ideas. God bless!